And we have Kyle Poland. Kyle is a 2002 Center graduate, and he is Associate Vice President and a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley in Ohio. And then we also have Taylor, who will show up on the screen when she talks. And she is a 2016 Center grad, and Taylor is a Senior Financial Analyst at Dell Technologies. So they're each going to talk a little bit about their career, what they do, tips for the field, and then after that, we'll open it up for questions and answers. Okay? Kyle's going to start us off.
Great, thanks, Kirk. And I don't know what you told all of them that got that many people into the room, but if he promised you like millions of dollars and stuff like that, I don't think that's going to happen. So glad you all could join us. Can you all hear me okay? Kind of. Okay. I'll try that. Any better?
No, no.
Okay, sit closer. Hang on. I'll just hold you. Okay. Any better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. I actually grew up in Danville. I'm a townie. Went to Center. Swam there, ran cross country there, ran track there. And after I graduated, moved up to Ohio, really to get into pursuing triathlons as a career, and did that professionally for a few years, but realized there's a difference in being a professional triathlete that is on the cover of magazines and a professional triathlete that's, they give you a lot of goo and Cliff Bars, but nobody pays your gas bill to do the level that I was at. So needed to do something that was a little more productive and financially sound. So had a buddy of mine that I worked out with that was doing this and said he needed some help and thought I would be a good fit to bring onto the team to be an advisor. I told him, I said, my only concern is that I was a psychology major and I took econ classes, but I wasn't a stellar, charts and graphs and all that stuff. And he said, that's okay for the role that I'm in, helping people deal with losing a lot of money potentially. And when the market moves down, calming them down is just as important as dealing with the charts and graphs. So for my line of work, I would say the psychology degree, he was right. I mean, what I had and what I got from Center definitely helped me, but it was a little different than I thought it was going to be. So Taylor, do you want to jump in?
Sure. I can talk about my background a little. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Taylor Harrison. I graduated in 2016, so last May. So I haven't been off of college campus for that long, but I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised, and then I came to Center for school, and now I'm back in Austin, Texas, and I work at Dell Technologies. I was a finance and economics major and had a minor in Spanish. Kyle, I also swam on the swim team. I don't think we crossed paths, but that's cool. I studied abroad in Mexico, and then I was also a part of several other organizations on campus. Really loved being involved. So I think for my career path, it was pretty direct. I graduated May of 2016, took the summer off and traveled, and then I started at Dell in August, so a few months after graduation. And I'm part of something at Dell called the Finance Development Program. It's a really unique program, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, what it is a 2-year program. So you have 2 years, and then within the 2 years, you have 4 completely different 6-month rotations. So for 6 months, you do one thing in finance. And then after the 6 months is over, you switch to a new role in finance, and you do that 4 times. I think the best part about this is you get to learn a lot of areas of finance and then also just build your network up. development programs, especially in technology these days, are huge. I think a lot of companies are catching on how worthwhile it is for their employees. Essentially, what we're going through right now is kind of like an MBA style curriculum as well. So on top of our jobs, full-time jobs, we have classes, we have exams, we have case studies, and then we have projects. And it's difficult for sure. So you have your full-time job and then you have all this on top of it. But I will say it's amazing because we get to work with people all over the globe. For our case studies, I have partners in Asia, Latin America, Europe, wherever it may be. And so I thought I'd kind of just walk you through really quickly the rotations that I've had so far. I'm currently in my 3rd rotation, so I've been in the program now for a little over a year. So my first 6 months, I was in a finance segment under sales. So essentially I was a controller looking at the P&L for our sales orders coming in weekly, which was really cool getting to see the business up front. After that, my 2nd rotation, I went into our audit organization. So had a little bit of audit experience. This was the first time that I did work on a global team. So I had team members in Singapore, Ireland, and Brazil. And then I was the only person in Round Rock in Austin. And so it was difficult, but also really cool just to get that global experience. I was able to go to Singapore and go to the office and meet my team members. So I loved doing that. And then my rotation that I'm in now is called Corporate FP&A, which stands for Financial Planning and Analysis. And this is super different than my other 2 rotations. It's very high level. So I see Dell Technologies revenue on a weekly basis every Monday, relative to our competitors, and in comparison to my other 2 rotations, just very high level. So I'm really enjoying this rotation, and it's been my favorite so far. And then my 4th rotation is still TBD. We don't find out all of them at the beginning. We kind of interview for them along the way. And then after the 2 years of the program is over, I'll get a pick what area of finance that I will want to stay in. Let's see. I think that's all I wanted to say about kind of the overview of the program. I will say it is a worldwide program. So we have my class here in Austin is pretty big. We also have people in Penang, Malaysia, Dublin, Ireland, and then people scattered throughout Latin America. So overall, that's kind of my career to date. I've only been here for like a little over a year. So yeah.
Okay. Y'all have questions? Yeah. Don't be shy.
How did so you've been employed at Dell Technologies for like about a year now. So were you employed while you were like at Center?
Yes. Was I employed while I was at Center?
Yeah.
I didn't start until August after I graduated, but I did end up getting the job at the end of mid-October of my senior year.
Okay.
So big companies, I will say, like large tech companies or large companies in general, they snatch their talent and they snatch their new class in the very beginning of the fall. And so I will say, if you're targeting a big company for your career after Center, definitely you got to get the ball rolling early because the process happens in September and October for a lot of places. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
What about you, Kyle? Is that similar in your field, or?
I would say so. The interesting thing, at least in the face-to-face type financial advising world, is there's sort of a gap right now where I think the average age of financial advisors is like 58 or 59. and they don't want to work until they're 80. And so there is some opportunity for somebody's got to fill those holes. So, I think, like she said, if you're interested in it, there's certainly a lot of different avenues to get into financial advising as a personal financial advisor. And I would say there's no sense, you don't need to wait. There's nothing that you have to do first or anything like that normally.
I have a question. So, did you have to get an accreditation for the financial advisor from some?
No. No, like I said, so my buddy was, he started at Edward Jones. He's 10 years older than me. So he started at Edward Jones and then moved to UBS back around 2002, I think, or 2003. And then hired me into UBS in 2007. And so we were there for a couple of years and then moved to Morgan Stanley in 2009. But no, you don't have to have a CFP. You don't have to have all that stuff ahead of time. I would say from my side, I do think if I had advice, my advice would be at this point. So, I think the success rate of just starting like your own branch of Edward Jones or doing something like that is, I think, about 5%. So they get tons of people that they have applicants for, and they really don't have anything to lose other than a little bit of money and, some locating a place for you to go. But the on your own way is pretty tough these days. And being on a team definitely helped me get through 2008 and all that stuff. So that would be for the ones of you that are looking to do this type of thing. There's lots of incentive for teams to bring in some younger people to have a progression for them to work things as the people start retiring. And I would encourage that avenue just personally, because that's how I went through it.
What grades do we have in the room? Is it everyone or mainly seniors?
Raise your hand if you're a senior. Raise your hand if you're a junior. Raise your hand if you're a sophomore. Freshman? Yeah, it's pretty even.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. Great that y'all are thinking about this early.
Any other questions?
I guess I can talk a little bit more. I had some, just like general advice. First thing, just that I wanted to touch on was working in the tech field. So at Dell, obviously we're in technology. So, we have everything from PCs to servers to storage to networking. I will say, there are huge tech giants out there. You have your Google, Facebook, Dropbox, Dell, HP, Lenovo. They're all awesome companies. And I will say that, technology is a really cool field. I've loved it so far, but I will say if you're a person who doesn't like change, then technology is probably not for you, because it's always changing and your job's probably going to change a million times and your teams are going to change and your actual day-to-day responsibilities are going to change based on kind of the climate in the tech field. So that's something to think about if you're targeting like a specific field rather than a specific role whenever you're on the search for a job. So yeah, if you are not a person who craves change in your life, then maybe stray away from the tech field if you're not comfortable with that. And then also if you do plan on getting a job in finance, I would definitely say I would recommend taking both of the accounting classes that Center offers. I only took the first accounting class, and I definitely had to play some catch up during my FDP exams whenever we had accounting material. So like I said, in addition to my full-time job, I have an MBA style curriculum that's hosted by Dell. So we have like professors come in and teach accounting classes and stuff. And then we have exams. So I had to play a little bit of catch up. So if that's something that you're interested in a development program with exams or something, or even just, want to be a financial professional, I highly do recommend taking that second accounting class. Just because, people who you're competing with in the professional space come from large schools with super strong and super just standard finance and accounting courses, whereas we're liberal arts, which I think is the greatest thing in the world. But at the same time, if you want to prepare yourself, I just think it's worth the extra time to take that second accounting class. What else? I'm a huge proponent of the Career Center. I mean, Kirk knows I came in there all the time my senior year to prep for interviews. And especially for the freshmen and sophomores in the room, I would highly recommend like using your advisor, whether that be Joy or Kirk or whoever, like early on, because if you don't establish a relationship with them early on, they can't help you last minute if you're looking for a job. I mean, the better they know you and the better they know your personality, the better they can help you and the more time you have with them. So that's just kind of my plug for the Career Center. I mean, I was in there literally once a week or twice a week if I had a big interview that week. And they helped me prep for interviews. They gave me a list of sample questions. I did mock interviews like over video chat and reviewed them. So it's a huge resource. Don't let that slide by you because they're here for a reason, obviously. What else?
Hey, Taylor, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
So you're at Dell.
Mm-hmm.
You came from Center. I think, if I put myself back in the seats in there might be a feeling. You talked about the big, D1 schools that have geared towards those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
How did you set yourself apart coming out of Center to get where you are with your job?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I can kind of talk about my path to get here. I will say totally honestly, it was mainly because of an internal referral. So I had a friend of a friend who works here, and she was the one who submitted my resume. After that, though, I did take myself the full way through. So the process was submit resume, and then they screen resumes, and then you have a phone interview, and then 3 in-person interviews. So the resume, I guess, went through, which was great. And then for the phone interview, I practiced with the Career Center, prepared my questions, had material to talk about. And then for the in-person interviews, Dell flew me from Center to Austin for the final callback day. So there was, I think, like 150 candidates that they flew in for the final day. We all had 3 rounds of interviews. But I guess once you get to the interview stage, I think just like, as silly as this sounds and as simple as this sounds, just being yourself. And I was just so enthusiastic about my liberal arts career that they couldn't take no for an answer. I mean, I was just saying that I had learned how to learn, essentially. I mean, we're given so much to do at Center, and we're put under so much pressure sometimes that we can handle anything that comes our way. And I think that was my biggest selling point. I just made sure they knew that I was ready to learn, even though I didn't come from a traditional finance background. And just showed my passion for the field. I really was interested in technology, and still am. And so I think that's how that went for me. But initially, it was an internal referral that kind of kicked that door open for me. And then I also always say to people who I talk to, your network is huge. It is really who you know instead of what you know. And I mean, if I ever give advice to people, it's literally reach out to the biggest network you can find, like your friends of your parents, people at your church, people at your sports club, people at wherever, because people are so willing to help, and you just never know what lead someone's going to have for you. And then also just have like talks with people, even if it's not centered around like, hey, I want a job, just get their advice. And then who knows, they may say, hey, actually, I want you to talk to my friend Joe. He works at so-and-so. Let me introduce you to him. And you never know where the path could lead. So I think just like being genuine, being open and talking to anyone is huge. That was kind of a long-winded answer, sorry.
So it was a good answer. Yeah, networking is important.
Hopefully
And
that
I guess I would say the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm here because it certainly wasn't when I was a freshman at Center thinking I would be doing what I'm doing now. And even when I was a senior, I didn't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now. But it is about connecting with people and taking a chance at something that maybe isn't what you think you want to do. But for me, it was a chance that I said, well, I'll see how it goes. And no one's asked me my GPA.
Yeah.
I think as much of a focus as that is sometimes in that world, while you're there, after you're done, you're yourself, and you bring your qualities and your abilities with you to what you're going to do.
Another thing that I'll add is, definitely if you haven't already, study abroad, because
I did
that's
that
one
too.
thing I talked about in my interviews that is so different from other people's experience coming from big schools. Bigger schools definitely have study abroad experience, but not to like the rigor and to the depth that we do. So I highly recommend it. It was the time of my life. I went to Merida, and I was actually able to have an internship there. And so talking about that in my interviews was a game changer. So any experience abroad as a college student is something that is really valued.
Any other questions? How about just closing ideas if you don't have any, or you don't have to, but.
Do you want to go, Taylor?
Let me think on it for a sec. You can go first.
Okay. So I'll say, I guess what I said at the beginning. I think there's finance is a broad term, right? So, there's lots of different things that entails that are completely, I would say, opposite or definitely different from each other. But at the end of the day, I think for Center, the thing that, like she was saying, is Center gives you opportunities to have experience and have not difficulty, but just, pressure, things that you can do and feel proud of when you're done with them, that it wasn't just a cakewalk class that you got through and you did this or that. And I think at the end of the day, at least in my world, you have to have perseverance. You have to deal with days that are bad days, right? That people don't do what you want to do, or you find out. Yesterday, I found out that one of my clients has Alzheimer's now. So, that has nothing to do with charts and graphs, but that's part of, from my side of the finance world, that's part of what you deal with. But it is a broad term, and there's lots of opportunities, I would say, under that word for you to find your niche.
So I wrote a few things down. So first of all, just echoing Kyle's comment, Center is a fantastic education. Don't ever try to compare yourself to someone coming from a big school. Being at a giant tech company where we recruit like at 5 big schools, I'm surrounded by people from UT, like University of Texas, wherever. Don't discount that, because Center is amazing and you're working so hard in your classes. So just be proud of that and walk in with confidence to a job interview, knowing that Center is awesome. I think in Kentucky, if you stay in Kentucky or Tennessee or around the areas, it's way more well known. In Austin, I have to give a little spiel. People say, "Where'd you go to school?" And I say Center College. Pause. It's a small liberal arts school in Kentucky. So if you're staying in that region, you're fine. But just, you know, talking to someone who's in Texas, just be proud of your school. If you're interested in development programs, I think that's a huge way to go. Just Google big companies with development programs. I think it's something up and coming. So if you're interested, check that out. Also keep in mind that your first job is not going to be your last job. I love where I am right now, but who knows if I'm going to be here in the next 5 years or whatever. So, you know, if you don't land like the perfect first job, take it as a learning experience. Learn what you can and then move on. I mean, you're going to learn something in every job. Use the Career Center. Seriously, it's the best. It's really helpful. So get in there early and let your advisors actually get to know you. Take the 2 accounting classes if you want to be competitive, professional. I highly recommend it. I had to play a little bit of catch up, and just to save that for you, if you need that background, then I would definitely recommend taking the 2nd accounting class. And then, I mean, just lastly, if you have questions later, I'm sure they'll provide you both of our emails. But I mean, I'm happy to answer any question over email or look at a resume or talk on the phone again. So if you have questions next year or next week, whatever, just feel free to reach out.
And I need to backstep, I guess. They don't ask me my GPA, but don't completely gaff off all your classes. That's not, don't take it that way.
Okay, I have one quick question. This is kind of off topic. Is it true that you swam the English Channel?
I did. So that's right. It's all about setting yourself apart. But for me, I swam at center. Ironically, I was a sprinter. So the other side of the spectrum of swimming. But yep, I swam across. In fact, that's my flag that I took with me on the boat. And then this year I swam around New York City.
Do you put that on your resume?
I would if I needed one.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out.